Broadcasting around the world, this is On the Record with Christian Briggs. Serious talk about what's happening around the world and how it affects you. Unfiltered truth for a world on edge. Follow us on X at BMC_HAM. Live in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, we're right back. Thank you. And we're talking about quantum today. We're coming back here with this is an explosive show. People don't understand the use and roles of precious metals, how critical. Look, it would be surprising to see gold at 10,000 an ounce by 27, 28, silver at 500 an ounce, platinum at 12 to 15,000 an ounce, palladium at 25 to 35,000 an ounce, rhodium at 100,000 an ounce. These are limited supplies. China has stockpiled this. They have 15 to 20,000 tons. They may even have 30,000 according to some of the press releases and estimates in the last couple of weeks, in a couple of months. Even Goldman Sachs said they have 10 times more than reporting, which if they have 10 times more than the reporting, they might have 50,000 tons of gold. Outpacing us dramatically. All right, the swords of where are made of physical silver. Now, what's where, I'd you ask? China's industrial demand for silver accounts for 50% of global production. You understand that? The industrial demand for silver, but just China, needs 50% of the world's production. Now, that production is not just what comes out of the ground, that's recycled. That's what comes to market, which is about 900 billion ounces. China currently controls between 60 and 70% of the world's refined silver supply. If that doesn't make you pissed off, then the next sentence will. The U.S. imports between 67 and 80% of its silver. Now you should be mad. They own it. They run with it. They don't have to import it because they control it. Got it? And so we have to import between 67 and 80%. We're begging them, saying, hey, sell us some silver. They cut us off on the 1st of this year. This is not a good combination given China's goal and the importance of strategic metals and minerals. And the cumulative deficit for silver from 21 through all of last year, global silver production is 813 million ounces. That means every ounce consumed is either drawn from existing above ground inventory or not available at all. At all. With COMEX, registered inventories are down 73%. They don't have it. LBMA bolts are down approximately 40%. And Shanghai inventories are at decades low. In fact, some of the lowest numbers ever since they started the Shanghai exchanges as well as the COMEX or LBMA. We're at the lowest depleted levels of above ground silver available in the history of tracking this stuff. Gold's getting there. Silver's way there. Platinum, palladium, rhodium is really close to being at where silver is, if not already there by the time this thing airs. The buffer that previously absorbed deficit is now rapidly depleting. Okay? I'm going to say a few more things that are really going to get you pissed off. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about stuff, about silver, where it's used. And let's talk about where it's used first. Why we import silver. We have resources here, but thanks to Obama, thanks to Biden, none of them wanted to utilize the value of the United States. Alaska, the United States mainland, have tons of resources. Trump's doing the very best he can to open those resources up. Takes time, takes years. And so he's gone and reached out and done deals with pre-existing operators around the world. Smart man. Silver is irreplaceable in defense applications such as radar transmission, receiving modules, RF relays, high reliability electrical contacts, solder brazing alloys, very important, listen to this, thermal control films, and silver zinc batteries powering torpedoes, missiles, and spacecraft. Very important. Spacecraft. The U.S. Defense Industrial Base consumes silver across virtually every weapons platform, and the USGS estimates U.S. net import reliance. Here's where you're going to get pissed. We have the silver, but it's going to take years to develop any efficient operations that could pull it out of the ground in the numbers we need. Throwing money at something doesn't mean you're going to get success. You can throw billions of dollars at it and you can lose billions. So here we go. The United States estimates I don't want to say this. We import and we're reliant on between 64 and 80% of our silver from other countries. And guess who owns up to 80% and controls up to 80% of silver above ground and in ground? China. You were right. In a conflict scenario with China, the United States would face silver supply cutoffs, simultaneous silver supply cutoffs from Chinese-controlled refining and surging military consumption, munitions, electronics, and communications. If China just flips a switch, we're done. We can't make chips. We can't make defense mechanisms from all the things I just said. We can't go into space. We can't get the helium-3, which is critical for achieving quantum. You can't do anything. Silver is going to be incredibly important. More now than ever before, more next year, more the year after. The majority of silver demand is price inelastic. Solar panel manufacturers, semiconductor fabrication companies, of course, defense contractors, and electronics producers cannot substitute away from silver because it has the highest electrical and thermal conductivity of any known element, period. Rising prices do not reduce consumption. It simply increases input costs across the entire technology and energy supply chain. Unobtainium is real. China's dominance in production is daunting. Second only to Mexico, China's production is 3 times that of the United States. That just makes you mad. I mean, we know this. Obama knew this, but he didn't want to give the United States a leg up. He wanted to lower the United States to a standard that would equal the rest of the world's middle class, because he felt that the United States was a colonized country that took advantage of the world's people, and that it was an experiment of wealth gathering at the expense of everybody, and that communism was a better way of putting the United States in a position to be fairer. I don't know what's fair about communism, because the only people that have it are the 5-10 people that run the entire masses of everybody. In late 2025, China announced that silver exports would require government licensing, effective January 1st, 2026, for silver, tungsten, antimony. This is enormous because the new regulatory framework requires this. All silver exporters to obtain government licenses coming from China, mandates minimum annual production of 80 tons and strong financial capability and capacity, effectively excluding small to medium exporters, approved only 44 companies for silver export during 26 and 27, concentrating exports among large state-approved firms, elevate silver from an ordinary commodity to a strategic material on the same regulatory footing as rare earth or earth minerals, and export volume is expected to be slashed by up to 40% compared to 25 levels during 26. It's massive. This is massive because China knows with silver, we're a competitor. We have a competitive edge if we have silver. An edge being that we have the knowledge to create the quantum and the silver to execute on that knowledge. And they know that, so they cut the supply dramatically. Just enough to make it hurt. Not enough to cut off the negotiations on those tariffs, but enough to know they could slow. It's almost like asthma. Yeah, you're breathing, but it's not efficient. It hurts. You need your inhaler, but you don't get the inhaler. But you're still alive. You're just turning blue a little bit. We're turning blue, and not the good blue, the bad blue. And not that there's a good blue because we're still red, right? Republicans. This follows China's established playbook of resource weaponization. They knew this 35, 40 years ago. We have evidence of this, that the playbook that they were going to play was specifically to arrange for them to control the things of which they knew were going to be required to get to quantum. They talked quantum back in the 80s. It was still a theory. Today it's conclusive that can be achieved, but it's still another year or two away. But they may even get it sooner because helium-3, which is mined on the far side of the moon, which they have a moon base, that is not, they acknowledge, but it's there, and they're bringing helium-3 back from the lunar surface to be able to utilize to create the kind of temperatures, low sub-zero temperatures, to keep the chips cool while it runs quantum computing at faster than light speed, which is this unbelievable heat. Because China controls between 60 and 70% of the world's refined silver supply, I think it's higher than that, by the way, even a partial restriction instantly creates global supply shock. China's 27 LBMA accredited silver refineries are more than double the number, and Japan 13, the next highest country. This is crazy. Obama killed the refining industry, killed both petrochemicals, oil, gas refinery. Petrochemicals, or the byproduct of our gas and diesel, are made, and it's called the upstream. Those are the things used in, like, say, paint or roofing as tile. Everything that's manufactured using any kind of petrochemical in such a way, not transportation and not put in your car engine, things like that. They killed it. Obama killed it. And then whatever Trump trying to bring back in term 1, Trump 45, then Biden killed it. I mean, people they're deranged. They're stupid, evil, just unbelievably stupid people thinking that you're going to destroy the United States because your ideology doesn't fit. This is the country this is it. This is who we are. So now we're at the lowest capacity for both oil, gas refining. Look at California. Boy, that's a mess. Gavin Newsom made a critical mistake in the regulatory environment for gas refining and all these different things. It's crazy. So refineries are closing down. We made mistakes on the national level with these administrations that were just communist in nature. So when you look at us having to be able to produce now oil and gas into petrochemicals and diesel and gas fuel, we're also having we're having to backstop, in a way, our currency with precious metals, as well as in the application I said earlier, that the refining of those metals has now become a supply chain nightmare, because we need to build the refineries or the ways of which to refine them from dirt, where you get it from ore. Makes no sense, but it does make sense. We are the people who did it. When China imposed export licensing requirements, it restricted the global supply pipeline. And silver ore mined in Mexico, Peru, Australia that is sent to China for refining now requires a Chinese government license to leave the country. So they get the ore in, those big rocks, they chop it up, grind it down, put it in powder, smelt it, separate silver, gold, platinum, palladium, rhodium, however it is, and then over here becomes the excess material that's not utilized, the ore. They separate and purify that ore into the direct purified metals. Those metals are now, guess what? You can't sell those metals. And China's like, you can bring us all your iron ore for iron or lithium or cobalt and all your precious metals, but we're not going to sell it back to you. How dumb do you have to be not to see that? I mean, I guarantee, I read this right here, I explain it, Stevie Wonder can see this. It's like crazy. The U.S., on the other hand, sold off its strategic reserves decades ago, and now we only produce a fraction of what it needs domestically, and only recognize silver as a critical mineral. And when? Late 25, just a few months ago. China has orchestrated itself to be the center of the very supply chain. It has created leverage that has changed global market dynamics by controlling refining with production from mines that are secondary. Yeah, I mean, this is what we're dealing with here. Now let's talk about quantum a little bit. Let's talk about quantum. And let's talk about why quantum. Well, you know what? Let's talk about J.P. Morgan Chase first. Let's talk about silver manipulation. I was going to save that for the last. Everybody's calling me on that. And it is true. These people have been shorting silver to acquire silver. And you know what they did? They sent it to Shanghai. They sold it to China. Oh, yeah. You have Americans that are treasonous by pure definition, and Trump knows it, and he's trying to change it, putting the bad people away. J.P. Morgan Chase paid a $920 million settlement in 2020 for, guess what? It's called spoofing and manipulation in precious metals markets, which is the largest such settlement in Commodities Futures Trading Commission history, CFTC. The CFTC is the SEC of the commodities industry. They are the federal government's agency that watchdogs all of the commodities trade. The bank maintained massive, concentrated short positions in silver futures for years, a practice critics argue systematically suppressed prices below their physical market equilibrium. While J.P. Morgan and other Western institutions were managing paper prices downward, China was accumulating silver physical metal at artificially depressed prices and building the refining infrastructure that now gives it control over what? Say it. 60 to 70% of global supply. You can't even put words into it. Like Jamie Dimon, did you hate this country? Are you a communist? I mean, why would you allow this to happen under your watch? You paid nearly $1 billion fine, and you were happy to do it. God knows what you made. I guess money was more important than the people in the mining industry or the physical delivery or the physical sales or just the national security of the United States. The price action reflects this. Why? Silver surged from roughly $30 per ounce at the start of 25 to nearly $120 in January of this year at its highest COMEX price. Shanghai was higher. They actually got higher. Then you got to 138 in Shanghai. Might be one of them. Might have been even higher than that. But I do remember it got high. I think 138, 136 was that neighborhood that I remember. Making it one of the best performing assets of the year. But it shows you once they took their shorts off and they had to start covering the shorts, which is buying the metal, boom, 120. Physical market is diverging from paper shorts. You do not ever want to buy precious metals on paper. You don't own it. You're owning a piece of paper that there's no guarantee the silver exists. COMEX doesn't guarantee it. They tell you, oh, we'll guarantee delivery. That's not true. They missed deliveries by millions of ounces in December of 25, and they rolled them over just recently in this year, 26, to March of 26. COMEX registered inventories in the United States are down nearly, here we go, 70% since 2020, and the LBMA vaults have lost around 40% of their holdings. This is not good. So I want to go and let's talk about quantum. What is quantum? What is quantum? Starts with AI data centers. Let's talk about AI data centers first, because quantum is the systems in action. So the data centers and the hardware and parts of software create the quantum environment. So quantum is the reaction. It's an action based on the physical build-up, but it's a reaction to the commands that are being placed upon it for calculations. Artificial intelligence infrastructure represents the fastest growing silver demand sector in history. And we're at the tip. If this is AI, we're right there. No, actually, I think we're right there. There. This is horse and buggy. There's cars. There's faster cars. There's airplanes. Oh, there's spaceships. There's moving on the surface of Mars. We're basically doing everything for 5,000 years to get to a car, electricity, indoor plumbing. So 5,000 years will be condensed in the next 5 to 10 years. We'll talk about growth. It's this. It's not this. It's that. Silver demand. This. Platinum demand. This. Palladium demand. Rhodium demand. All platinum group metals. Gold. Gold's about like that. Not that, but like that. Still good. Silver, platinum group metals, slightly better. Probably better return. Silver definitely beat gold at 25. Platinum was up almost 300% at 25. Each hyperscale data center requires approximately, oh, you're going to love this, I'm going to call it out, 300,000 to 500,000 ounces of silver for server connections, thermal management, and electrical contacts. Global data center capacity is projected to triple by 2030. Do you know how many data centers are being built around the world? Everybody always focuses on the United States. I can't even begin to tell you how many servers are being put into data centers in the United States. But let's just say there might be as much demand in the United States for the production yearly of silver between solar, the data centers, space exploration, military applications. And I say silver, let's put silver and palladium and platinum and rhodium in a lot of these categories. There is more demand in the U.S. between now and 2030 than the next 2 to 3 years supply of those metals globally. And if China controls somewhere between 60, 70, maybe up to 80%, the jury's a little out on that 70 to 80, but I think it's closer to 80 that reflected the way in which it jumped so much last year, makes sense to me, then we're talking about $1,000 silver in the next 5 years, $30,000 platinum, God knows could be $100,000 palladium, rhodium could be $500,000. I mean, it's just the math. Here's the supply, there's a demand, and if we don't have the demand, then we're not keeping up with the technologically understanding of the next generation of infrastructure to be maintaining the United States and everything that we call what we do, our home, our power, our lights. We're not going to be put under the thumb of China. NVIDIA alone consumed over 40 tons of gold in 24 for GPU manufacturing. Let me make sure you understand that. 40 tons of gold in 24 for GPU manufacturing. Once that gold's in that GPU stuff, it's exceedingly expensive to recycle it. Now, it's still got a lot of gold is still recycled for what it is because it's expensive per ounce. So it does justify the means of the action to go out there and absolutely recycle those. But it's getting more challenging because the way the gold is applied inside GPUs, on wires, on connectors, and more of that. Advanced AI chips require increasing precious metals content for thermal and electrical performance. The AI arms race guarantees sustained demand growth regardless of economic cycles. Bingo. Electric vehicles. Electric vehicles require substantially more silver than internal combustion vehicles. You're looking at somewhere between 1 to 2 ounces of silver compared to a half ounce, quarter to half ounce in conventional vehicles. Battery contacts, charging systems, and power electronics drive the differential. Again, we're talking about solar energy infrastructure. What did Elon Musk say? Data centers in space. God bless you, Elon. You're going to love this. Solar photovoltaic production is the largest and fastest growing industrial solar application in history. Each gigawatt of solar capacity requires just under 800,000, to be exact, 770,000 ounces of silver for cell conductors. Global solar installations exceeding 400 gigawatts in 24 projected to reach 1,000 gigawatts annually by 2030. So for each gigawatt, if we're going to achieve 1,000 gigawatts, 1,000 times 770,000 ounces, right? That's 770 million ounces minimum. Let's say 800 million ounces. Just in solar energy infrastructure for the U.S., China, a few other countries, you need a year's worth of production. Good luck. Good luck. It isn't going to happen. And that's just in the next about 3.5 years. Good luck. So with quantum, now you see what's happening. All these precious metals add up to 3 things. 1, silver for the hardware application for quantum, and the servers being the GPUs, the technical connectors, the wiring, and so forth. That is first and foremost one of the most important things you're ever going to know about quantum, is that silver is absolutely critical. You cannot compute in I call it the hypersonic speeds we're talking about with quantum without silver. That's in the servers. That's in, well, of course, cars and solar, that applications too. But we're going to quantum. Platinum, palladium, rhodium. How are you going to power the AI data centers? You can't do it with coal. No. Can't do it with natural gas. No. Can't do it. Can't do it with solar. No. Can't do it with wind. No. Nuclear energy. Nuclear energy. Go look up what Meta did. Just cut a $2.7 billion with 3 nuclear reactor companies. Go look at all of the nuclear energy companies that are fast tracking through the red tape that was recently cut for safety conditions by President Trump just a week ago. He cut through an EO all the safety requirements to get either reconditioned or get new energy efficient nuclear reactors built right now. Right now, platinum, palladium, rhodium, military, energy applications, space applications. I mean, this is your precious metals. This is the U.S. dollar. Okay? Hard assets. I don't care if it's precious metals. I don't care if it's rare gold coins. Boop. Boom. Drop down the U.S. dollar. Increase United States presence to at least have what we call a space-based infrastructure, which is so important as we continue to move forward to that. And so if you start to look at all of the different, I got to share this with you because quantum computing will probably have its data center in space, even with the helium-3 being an application, a part of the application to be able to keep it as cold as it needs to be, whether it's here on Earth or in space. You need H3, especially for any Earth-based data centers. You need H3 here. Space, you're still going to need it to some degree, and maybe not as much, and maybe the prospects of the amount of, I'll call it just the low temperatures of space, may actually give way to reducing helium-3 reliance, but not on Earth. And no matter what happens, and by the way, helium-3, H3, it's about $20+ million per an ounce of it. Don't go out there and buy it anytime soon. If you do buy it, good luck, because it's very expensive. So again, we're going to go look at the depletion. At current extraction rates and projected demand growth, economically recoverable reserve face potential exhaustion within measurable time frames. So silver, we have from now for the next 20+ years, zero. Platinum, again, our known reserve of platinum, 69,000 tons. That's it. Palladium, less than 30 years, but as we expand AI, it could be 10 years to 12 years. See, what people don't realize is the amount of known reserves for a particular commodity, whether it's oil, whether it's natural gas, whether it's precious metals, whether it's rare earth minerals, people don't realize that they're using a lot of times not an equation that creates they use a lot of times a linear. They don't realize that the growth of population, the growth of usage, and the growth of transition from the analog systems to the digital to really the AI scale, they're not using models that are consistent with really tapping into the demand cycle. And then you have the depletion cycle. And so when we put this together, gold, right now, we have maybe, well, let me just say this here. For silver right now, if we do this on a real scale, conclusive scale of usage, and then we refactor recycling potential in there, we have less than 12 to 15 years worth of silver, period. So you're going to see silver. It's not going to go like this and on the 12th year and go like that. It's doing this. $1,000 an ounce for silver, no big deal. Remember when it was $1? Now it's $100. As far as platinum goes, the jury's still out, because the majority of platinum comes from countries that are not wanting to sell us enough to be able to secure it, to create the infrastructure we need. So the likelihood of securing enough platinum and platinum group metals like palladium and rhodium, give me an example. Platinum, we might have 100 years worth of platinum, but that's only if we get all that we need. We may not. They may cut us off. We may have 10 years, 12 years. But even though palladium would be a little bit limited data on in-ground reserves, we know kind of good above grounds. Right now, we have an estimate of 15 to 20 years. There is no more palladium. Like silver, 12 to 15 years. There's no more new silver. Whatever you want, you got to recycle it. Good luck. That's going to be expensive. Again, palladium, 15 to 20 years at best. So if we said oil was going to run on in 20 years, oil would be $200 a barrel, $300 a barrel, $1,000 a barrel. Every and each year we get closer to depletion, it'll go up 50, 60, 70%. Theoretically, that is how our system showed it. Same thing with rhodium. We have maybe 8 to 10 years left if you look at usage and the growth of which it's being used and what applications. Gold, 10 years, maybe. And the reason is gold is becoming the world's reserve currency assets, number one. And now that's going to backstop the next generation of digital. When you look at digital, it's hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of currency out there in a digital form, and gold's going to backstop it. So that gold has to be on reserve and in holdings to backstop it. I'm Christian Briggs. That's on the record. We've been talking about quantum. Precious metals, got to have it. Depletion, guaranteed. Quantum, guaranteed by the United States, not so much. We'll be back for another show, and we're going to finish even deeper on where China is on the moon and what does that mean to us. And there'll be even more talk about it. Again, Christian Briggs on the record. Thanks for joining us.
Gold has almost tripled in just 5 years, rising from $1,700 an ounce in 2020 to over $4,700 an ounce by January 2026. That's a 179% gain, outperforming the market and proving why gold is the ultimate long-term hedge. As global debt soars and currencies weaken, central banks are hoarding gold at record pace. Why aren't you? Call 844-426-4653 or visit bmcham.com. Protect your future with real assets. Own gold now.